Figured it out.
There we go. Okay. Whew. Okay. Sorry, I never get used to these type of things.
Me neither. It's very strange.
So, I'm gonna start it off with giving you your roses, and this is where I just say, thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to do this. This really means a whole lot to me as someone who
Sure, no problem.
recently got into Naruto because my friends kept bugging me. And not like it was a chore, but they were just like, watch Naruto. I was like, give me a second, guys. I watch Naruto. So then I finished because I was watching Code Geass, and then they were like, watch Naruto, or like, watch Naruto. Like, all right, fine. So I'll watch Naruto. I watched Naruto. I fell in love. Like, I fell in love with Shikamaru.
No, I'm sorry. I was just commenting that somebody that's been following me is in the room, and I just wanted to say hi.
Oh, awesome. Welcome so much. But yeah, I love Shikamaru. He's one of my favorite Naruto characters ever since I started
Me
the show.
too.
So just thank you so much for giving your voice acting career. It's an amazing character and just making everyone's lives better. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's fun to play. He's a good character.
My first question to you would be how would you describe your childhood environment?
My childhood? Oh, I had a great childhood. I grew up in Minnesota, in the suburbs, West St. Paul, and it was, I would say it was great. Kind of middle class. Had a good education, good schools. Neighborhood where you'd run outside, mom would yell at you at 5 o'clock to come for dinner, and we rode our bikes without helmets, and and just play baseball in the school yard that was right behind our house, and there was a hill there. We lived on a hill, and then so we'd go sledding there in the winter, and I had a really good middle class, Stranger Things type of without the Stranger Things. That the way it is like in Indiana there. It was very kind of not small town, but very suburban. We'd hang out at the mall, we'd go to movies, stuff like that.
And I had the same hot childhood as you. I would say that was basically my childhood. Like, come in, street lights come on, come in, they get beat, you better go with the street lights come on, play outside with my friends, do all that. So we
had with 15, maybe 20 kids that lived on our block.
Mm-hmm.
So we would, in the summertime, I remember we used to play a whole neighborhood, we call it ditch, but it's hide and go seek. And we'd use everybody's yard, running around, climbing fences, the whole thing. It was fun. Run around in the dark, in the middle of the summer. So, we had a good time. We got into some trouble too, but for the most part, we were good kids. We played a lot of baseball. We used to play baseball with a tennis ball. I don't know why.
Wow.
Because that thing could really fly when you hit it, So.
Okay. Nice. What got you into the entertainment industry? Was it someone in your life that pushed you, or was that just something you always wanted to do?
Well, when I was a kid, I always was like a performer. I was always like, I would sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow for my grandma at, Christmas. I'd do stuff like that. I always wanted to perform. But growing up, I didn't know any performers. I didn't know anybody that did that for a living. It just seemed like that was too crazy and out there. So around 7th grade or so, I thought my life was going to be being a forest ranger. I thought that would be fun. Go work for the U.S. Park Service and work at like Yellowstone or something. And I had this sort of image of driving a Jeep, and I'd have a dog, a big black lab, and I'd go to a fire tower and drink my coffee and, tell visitors to stay away from the bears, stuff like that.
Right.
And I thought, well, that would be fun. And then I realized that they only hire like 2 people a year.
Wow. I didn't know that.
You have to have a math. Basically, math is very heavy. Forestry is very heavy in math and science. And math was not my field. I was good in the sciences. I did a lot of stuff with biology and stuff. And I was part of a group when I was in junior high called the Junior Naturalists. We had a nature center near us. And so I actually worked at the nature center and kind of part-time. And we did camping trips and outings. And I actually built and stayed overnight in an igloo. And once, which I'll never do it again. It was horrible. But at least I can say I did it. But we did a lot of that stuff. And then I realized, it's just as hard to be in the forest ranger, be a forest ranger as it is to be an actor. So why not be an actor?
Right.
That's what I want to do anyway. And then I can just play a forest ranger.
A great little compromise.
I can be a doctor without having to go to med school. I could be a lawyer without having to go to law school.
Law school, right.
So it's like, I thought, well, that'd be kind of fun, because if you don't really want to, can't make up your mind, you can be everything. You know?
Happy little medium. Yeah. Most definitely. I can see
and
that.
And now I'm a ninja. So who would have thought?
Right. Did you ever see, when you first started out, could you ever imagine you'd be like in one of the biggest cartoon animes of all time?
No. And I even when I auditioned for it, I had no idea what it was. And it was one of those things where once I auditioned and once I was kind of made aware of Naruto, I started seeing it everywhere. Like, I didn't notice it before. And then all of a sudden I started noticing it, and it's like, you know, you're at the checkout at the grocery store and there's a little Naruto thing for sale. I was like, what is that? You know, it's been around me the whole time, and then I just never was aware of it. Because it had been, you know, it had been big in Japan way before we started doing the English dub version.
Right.
And it was a big hit show there. So so then when we got on board, it was already kind of a big deal, but we just didn't know. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't know. I was unaware of it. So, and then I got lucky, you know, that's the whole thing.
Right.
You get on a good show and you're just, that's been 15 years and 750 episodes. Actually more than that now with Boruto.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's been a really great thing for me, you know, as an actor. And the other thing is, I've always had my foot in the water acting, you know, so because I've always had Naruto, I always had that one thing, that one job, you know. It's like,
right.
You could go, wow, nothing's really happening. I don't know what's going on. Should I even be an actor? You know, oh yeah, I got this show that I'm on. You know?
Right. So, nice. That's really dope to have something like this. I could only imagine having something like people love around the world and you're just like known for it. That's got to be like such an amazing thing to have.
Yeah, I've gotten to go to like Australia and New Zealand for conventions and stuff, and so that's really crazy. And you know, because there's another side of my life as I work in sort of television production for many years, and so I have to say, hey, you know what? I need to take 2 weeks off. I'm going to Australia to sign autographs, and they're like, what? You? It's like they have no idea that that's like the whole like secret identity is that I'm this voiceover ninja. So
right.
Yeah.
What was difficult back then that is way easier now?
Just the process of doing it. When I first started, which was around, I want to say 2000, late 90s, 2000, they didn't have Pro Tools. Are you aware what Pro Tools is on the computer?
Yes, I use that in my class.
Yeah, so basically you'd go in, and especially with this kind of stuff, the dubbing, you would have to lay down a track, and they'd have to make it fit, right? And so today with Pro Tools, you can lay down the track, and they go, hold on a second, you know, we're gonna move it, we're gonna slide it a little left, a little right, we're gonna line it up, we're gonna speed it up, slow it down, we're gonna make it fit. Oh, that works. Boom, moving on, right? Well, back when I started, it was, nope, do it again. You're about a half a second too long. Nope, do it again. You gotta speed it up just a little bit. Okay, or you gotta slow it down, or you gotta stretch it out. And even today, there is a little of that because, you know, Pro Tools can only do so much. And,
right.
And sometimes we even have to rewrite the line to make it fit better, you know. But that's pretty rare. The writers are pretty good on this show, for sure. And but back in the old days, that was the whole thing. Like, if you couldn't do dub, I think they gave me a target goal of you gotta do 30 loops per hour. If you could do 30 loops per hour, you were okay. And that's lines. A loop is a line. And so, and I don't even know if I'm averaging 30 now, even with Pro Tools, but back then, because I'll tell you, the minute Pro Tools came along, we all got sloppy. And it really did turn it from, it's a very specific skill that very few people can really master, and then it turned into anybody can do voiceover, right? And then it exploded with, well, with original animation, you can get an actor and you can take them in the booth and they talk to the director and you read the line and then they go and animate around what you did in the booth, right? But what we have is the animation's already done, so we got to make it fit. And I'll tell you, the people here that produce like Naruto, they're obsessive about making it look right and making it sound right. And so sometimes we have to add filler and we have to, because, when you translate strictly from Japanese, it's very stilted.
Right.
And it doesn't always fit, right? It's they can have a word that means a big concept, but it's a very small word. And we have to say that concept, but we only have this much time to do it in. So it's that's the challenge of the translation. However, again, with Pro Tools and things like that, it helps immensely because they can just move it around back and forth, up and down. But but in the early days when I first started, they'd give you 3 beeps, beep, 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 and then where the 4th beep would come, that's when you start speaking, and then you had to hit it right. Oh, and then by the way, you have to act it.
Right, yeah, that's a
emotion. Give it he's angry here, so and sometimes when you're angry, you speed up or slow down, so then you have to be very in control of that. So it was. I want to say when I first started, it was very much a craft, more like a workman. You had to. So you not only had to be talented, you have to have an interesting voice. You had to be able to interpret the lines dramatically, but then you had to make it. You had to do all this technical stuff. You had to make it fit. You have to say it in the right speed. You have to, without losing the character, without losing your voice. So. It was great training, and then of course now I'm just totally like Shikamaru. I'm totally lazy about
it. How are you adjusting to recording from home? Because I know with the whole pandemic going on, a lot of y'all are gonna have to do that, like have a mic and stuff.
I am not recording from home. I'm going into the booth actually. I just, as a matter of fact, today about 20 minutes ago, I just went and did a COVID test, so that I can go in on the booth on Thursday. There's some people that are and some people that aren't. My booth is in progress. Let me put it that way. I just got a new mic set up, and then my wife, because she's working from home, she's taken over the home office. So that's where I used to have my setup, and it wasn't super soundproof, but our house is very soundproof because we live near an airport.
So lucky.
So it's actually, I was 3/4 of the way there. So now I've been banished out to the shed, and so now I put blankets all around and stuff. I'm trying to dull the sound, but my big thing is I got to run a Cat 5 cord from the shed to the house and do it in a way that I don't leave the window open or something, so I can plug into the internet connection. And those are all technical things that I'm trying to work out, and I'm not a super technical person necessarily when it comes to the editing and stuff. And then that is part of it too, that when you record from home, you're kind of the engineer,
right?
Which is a little, I don't know, I barely got this to work, so
yeah,
that's a little tough. So, but Studiopolis, where I record, where they do Boruto, they're fantastic. And even like it was, I don't know, like 5 weeks ago, they started recording again, and it's great because you're in a booth by yourself. There's no one. The engineer's on the other side of the glass. That it has a separate entrance. Like you come in and you don't see anybody, and you go right into the booth. You close the door behind you. It's been all sterilized. Both the times that I've had to record, nobody had been in the booth prior to me. So it's great. And all the engineers in that are still working at the studio. The directors are home and they're like zooming in to the meeting and then directing the session. And then like some people are at home and they're nice, because some people have really like built out nice studio spaces.
Yeah.
Mine is very homemade. But I do have a good mic. I just recently purchased a good mic, a Shure mic, and
nice.
I have to get a new mixing board for it. So it's like I'm getting better and better, and I'm piecing it together. And
right.
By the time the pandemic is over, I'll be ready to go.
I can only imagine how that's like, because I see people like Steve Blum.
Oh, he's got a great setup at home. He's got studios.
Got his own studio of his own.
He could have people come over there and record. You know, like
record. Right.
I mean, that's really the nicest way to do it. I just can't invest that kind of money and I don't have the space. I have a very small house here in Burbank, and we just don't have I don't have an extra spare bedroom or anything that I could convert or, anything or a garage. I like to park my garage in my garage. So park my car in my garage, not my garage, my garage. And so I have a shed though. And if I can make it where I can easily put it up and take it down and put it away, like it'll work. So I'm like 90% of the way there. I just got to finish it off. So I've been picking away at it.
Right. You mentioned you lived in Burbank.
Since I've been able to go in, I'm like, well, that's fine because they have much better equipment. But I know that the sound is going to be good when I go in. So I don't. I'd rather go in. And plus, it's like I said, you're in this little room. You don't talk to anybody other than behind glass. It's like it's perfect. It's a perfect setup for an actor because you don't have to interact with anybody. So
that's cool. You mentioned you lived in Burbank. How are you handling all the fires over there and stuff going on? And
they're not too close to us, and we're near the Burbank Airport, which is good and bad. One, our house is kind of soundproof because every once in a while we get a plane that goes over, but the fire's not going to jump the airport. There's an airport to get to me. And I figure the fire department's going to put it out before it gets to the airport. That's a major asset that they need to protect, which also protects me. So, so we're good. We get a lot of dust, and we've had the orange sky, like most of the country. It's getting our orange sky. And we had some really bad air quality warnings in the last couple of weeks, but it's been, for us, the fires aren't threatening. It's more the smoke and the damage it's doing to everybody else in the environment. And you got to breathe all that stuff. So that's the crazy part. Just the whole fact that 2020, it's like, what else can happen?
Hey, I think that's where everyone is at. Like, nothing can surprise us anymore. It's just...
I know. We've had earthquakes out here. We've had fire. We've had, with the whole political stuff, and then and the COVID, and it's just
the UFOs were revealed to us, and
the UFOs, which I still don't quite know what to make a lot of that, but
I don't either. It's just like, wow. I can't believe
I don't know if it's experimental aircraft that we're not aware of, or if it's, it's highly unlikely, not to blow any, but I think it's highly unlikely that we're made contact or anything like that. Not to say it's impossible, and I do believe there's life out there. I just don't know why they'd be interested in us.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you describe your journey in the industry, and what have you learned from it?
It's not to be pessimistic, but it's been a struggle, all the way. And I'm not anywhere near the top, I barely got my foot in the door after all this time. I got a lot of encouragement when I was younger, when I was coming up. A lot of things that said that this is what I should be doing, and I have a real talent for this, and this is what I should be pursuing. And then I got out to California, and it's like, the brakes got put on. Like, it was just, how do you get any kind of attention? How do you get to? And I still don't know. How do you get those auditions? How do you book those jobs? And it's still like, I'm puzzled. Like, I still don't know. And everybody's got a different path.
Exactly.
Some people get super lucky and things happen, and I don't think they even realize how lucky they got. When I first got out to Los Angeles, it was about 20 years ago. Wow. I mean, I auditioned for the original cast of The Office, and I auditioned for the very first version of Everybody Loves Raymond. I went to 3 callbacks for Everybody Loves Raymond.
Wow.
And the role that I was supposed to play was the neighbor that was like best friends with Ray and always trying to get him in trouble. And in the original pilot script that I had auditioned for, they lived across the hall. They didn't live in the suburbs. They lived in a building in New York, and they lived across the hall. So the whole idea was that his mom was like instant babysitter. She's right there. And so the mom and the dad were always in their apartment, and the wife was like, your family is driving me nuts. And I was a guy that lived with my mom in the apartment up downstairs, and I'd go, hey, Ray, let's go. You go do this or that. And he'd go, no, I got to watch the kids. And I go, that's why you're across the hall. Let's go, And I was always trying to get him to go out and do stuff. And so I went to 3 callbacks for that, and then they redid the whole script, and they moved him out to the suburbs, and they had Robert, his brother, be more of his, the guy that is always, oh, Ray, and then his friends kind of went away. Later they bring some friends in and out, but we never really saw Ray's friends. And then with The Office, I had seen the British Office. And I went into audition, and I was like, "This is fantastic." And I wanted to audition for the Jim role, which, if you watch the English version, was he was more of just like an every guy. He was just like I can't think of his name. He's the guy that was the Hobbit, the actor that played the Hobbit.
Okay. Andy Serkis? No, that's not.
And he's
Y'all don't
Sherlock.
roast me.
He plays Watson in Sherlock. Anyway, so.
Okay.
He's not Jim, who's playing Commandos and, action heroes, right, who was in the show. But they wanted me to read for Dwight. So I read for Dwight.
Oh, okay.
And I played it very subtle, and I, just kept, and when I got done, I remember the casting director, she said, can I give you a hug? And I said, yeah. And she goes, that was perfect, because so many people come in here and they read this and they play it over the top. Like it's too broad, it's too big. And she goes, you hit it perfect. And I was like, great, call me back. And it was like, well, we don't really see you as one of these roles. Like if we were doing the English version, we might put you as the Jim role. You're not quite right for Dwight. And, they got Rainn Wilson to do Dwight, which is perfect. He's a perfect oddball, And then it was like, in hindsight, I was like, well, then why didn't you move me to Kevin? Or to, let me audition for Oscar, or, one of those other side roles, kind of, which then after 10 years, I mean, can you imagine if I would have gotten one of those? It would have been a whole different story, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's like, I did well in that audition. I didn't get the job. They didn't really feel like I fit. And then you think, well, then maybe the next thing. But then they go and work on that show for 10 years. So their next thing is 10 years later. And they're not really thinking about you anymore. So, it's just, it's weird. It's a lot of luck of the draw, and, being in the right place at the right time, and then being, talented and ready for when that moment happens to take advantage of it. So, access, I think, is the biggest trick for an actor. Trying to have access to those roles and those auditions and those people, and trying to be, like I said, put yourself in the right place, right time. And I still don't know how to do that. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right. Someone asked, what was it like working on a project based on DC superheroes?
Oh, are you talking about the Lobo? The Lobo thing I did?
Yeah, I'm pretty. I think that's what they're talking about, because I did see you worked on a DC project.
Yeah. Well, what it was film school. Out here, they have these things where you can audition for film schools.
Mm-hmm.
They need actors. This was several years ago, and the guy wanted to do a whole thing on Lobo, which, because you're in film school, you don't have to pay for the rights, and you don't have to, because it's basically experimental. And then he was hoping to trying to develop it into something. And so the premise was Lobo was hired by the Easter Bunny to kill Santa Claus. So that was sort of the premise of the bit. And I was the Easter Bunny. So it's a pretty funny thing. It's somewhere out there online. I think you can find it. It's like a Lobo's paramilitary Christmas. It's pretty funny, and it's about 4 minutes long. And I'm the Easter Bunny. It's like crazy. I gotta kill Santa Claus.
That's it.
So if you get a chance, it's on YouTube somewhere.
I think this is what they were talking about. Justice League Adventures. Yes, I just saw it. That's what I was. Yes.
So I did 2 DC projects. That was
yes.
One.
Yes.
You know what? that was one of the funnest recording sessions I ever had. And I'll tell you why, because when we did that, they had all the villains in the same room at the same time, because it was like the Legion of Doom. And so we were all recording together. So we had Lex Luthor, and, you know, I was the Toy Man. You know, and so it was fun because it was almost like playing to an audience. So when we were doing some of these battle scenes and stuff, and things would come, you know, and I would do my little thing, and they were just like laughing at what I was doing in the room. And, you know, it's really enjoyable, like watching other people do their thing, and it like you were performing for each other. And I felt like, wow, this was fun. I really kind of, you know, you feel like you fit in, like I should be here. This is what I should be doing, you know. And so that was very satisfying, you know, to feel like with my peers, and they were thinking that I was doing some pretty funny stuff, and I thought they were doing a great work, and it was fun to see it all kind of come together. That was a lot of fun. I wish they would have done more of those. And I kind of because it went so well. Like everybody that they had cast, there was a bunch of Naruto guys on that. Liam O'Brien was in it, and
so cool.
And I thought they're gonna do more of these, because this was just, it was fantastic. But they only did the one, and it was kind of a one and done. And then I thought they'd bring us back for something else, but it just didn't. But who knows? You know, you don't know. It might come back.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, look at it. Like, a bunch of people coming back. Like, Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman in the new Flash film, and you know, like there's so much stuff like coming back. And I mean, the Clone Wars came back, the big Star Wars TV show came back, so you never know what could happen. So most definitely.
And Justice League Adventures, I think it was originally designed to be sort of a one straight to DVD short story kind of thing, but you know, I guess depending on how well it did, maybe it didn't do that great, but because then you just make another one, because you just come up with a different story. And this really was Justice League Adventures. It really was like Avengers, right? Because we had Batman, Superman, you know, all the villains. That was the storyline. It was like an end game. It was like, you know, but in, you know, cartoon form. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you got to do something like that. I have a question about that coming up too. But the reason I wanted to get you here was because of Shikamaru, and I have a ton of questions about that. Oh, nice!
That was my character at DC Adventures.
Oh!
Justice League Adventures.
Okay, because when I was thinking about Toyman, I was thinking about the version from the
he's like a puppet.
Yeah, the one from the I don't know if you ever saw it, the original cartoon back in the 90s. It was like Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series, and Toyman was in it. So I was saying he looked like a ventriloquist dummy. So that's what I was kind of.
Oh, right, little bow tie.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of.
He's more like a jester puppet thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So when you auditioned for Naruto, did you audition for only Shikamaru, or did you do for anyone else?
I auditioned for Naruto, Shikamaru, and why am I blanking? Choji.
Choji, okay.
And I actually thought Choji would probably be more, because, you know, I'm sort of a little roly-poly myself. You know, like, and I was that kid that was sort of picked on for being chubby, and, you know, Choji seems in my way. What they did was, they had a bunch of scripts out in the lobby. And they just look over some of the scripts, grab 3 that you feel like you could do. And so I grabbed Choji, I grabbed Shikamaru, and I grabbed Naruto. Because Naruto was, of course, the lead. And so I thought, you know, I can do that whole kind of young hero, you know, believe it! You know? Right?
Yeah!
And, we can't... we can't stop now, you know?
Yeah,
so I read them, and Shikamaru initially was, my take on it was more of like a surfer dude, you know, like just sort of because he was laid back and like, whatever, what a drag, you know. He's like, and if you listen to the early versions, he comes up more like, dude, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
and then later he turns into more of like, dude, whatever, what a drag. you know.
So
And
cool.
part of that though is too because he gets older.
Yeah.
Right? So when you listen to the early ones though, you got to kind of think. You'll hear it. It's more like Surfer Dude in the early days, and then he gets a little bit more. That his whatevers aren't so whatever. It becomes more like whatever.
Yeah, nice. More like dark and brooding, you know,
Yeah.
sort of like
Just
that.
everything's a drag. Leave me alone. Yeah.
So one of my friends wanted me to ask you. I was gonna ask this, but perfect question. He said, "How?" You said you based it off of a surfer dude, but when you made the voice for Shikamaru, did you have like a friend that talked like that, or were you like impersonating like a show you watched? Or
No, and actually, my first thought was like a surfer dude because he said whatever a lot and what a drag and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the trick is like when you're doing voice stuff, right? So the quintessential version of that is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, you know?
Yeah.
Excellent, whatever, dude. Right? You know, you're doing that. So for me anyway, the last thing I want to do is that. Right? Because they're just going to go, oh, that's just a Bill and Ted knockoff, right? So you kind of have to tone it down or change it a little bit. And you know, I didn't know a ton of surfer dudes or anything, but there's sort of that style of talking. And so you kind of want to be like something like that without being that thing, right? So you kind of want to make it your own. And that's eventually that's what happened, to the point where I think when I say it was a surfer dude, people go, really? And then they think about it for a second and they go, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely did not hit the target of surfer dude, but I ended up in something that resonated with people, right?
Right.
If it's a more cartoony sort of a thing, I think you can get away with sort of imitating voices. Like when you think about it, the Flintstones. You're familiar with Flintstones?
Love the Flintstones. Grew up with them.
Are you also familiar with the Honeymooners? Ralph Cramton and Jackie Gleason. There was a TV show, Honeymooners, and he had a named Norton was the star, and he was like, to the moon, we take to the moon, Alice. You know, Alice's mother is.
Oh, he froze.
Well-loved television show of the 1950s. And the Flintstones is the Honeymooners. So I'm sure when they went in the audition, they go, you're going to play Fred Flintstone, play him like Ralph Cramton, which was the character from the Honeymooners, because it's very similar, you know. It's and there's a lot of character actors from the 60s and stuff that appear in the cartoons that I grew up with. And it's just like, you know, well, Mr. Flintstone. And that guy he'd be in sitcoms. He's talked that way. He always had this big voice, you know. And now you'll see it on Simpsons, where somebody's doing an imitation of that guy who's doing that thing, you know. So it's like it's become a life of its own, the characters that are out there. So you can almost go through every cartoon and you can find any the stereotypes of how to play different characters, right? You can find a character today and you can almost go, oh, that's Deputy Dog, or that's Quick Draw McGraw, or that's, you know, Top Cat, or that's, you know, right? If you watch all those 60s shows, it's all like stock character types. So, and then you just pick and choose and kind of go, oh, he's more like this, you know, he's got a New York, you know, and you just add whatever you need to when you go to. I'm so aware of that stuff that I always feel like, oh, they're just gonna think I'm doing an imitation, right? But you kind of, like I said, you want it to be close enough that people go, oh, that's sort of like this, but it's your own thing. So
you're kind of freezing up a little bit here and there.
Am I? Sorry,
yeah,
you are too. But
okay.
On my screen, when I see me, it's very fluid. On your screen, yours kind of chopped, so I don't know what the people at home are experiencing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to. Yeah, they're gonna get like a frozen. Oh, I thought you really froze, bro. So for Naruto, oh, he really froze. So for on my screen just Thomas. Okay. So for Naruto, you did Naruto Shippuden, and Boruto. Which did you have most fun on?
Oh, Naruto. I have in Boruto. It's fun. It's fun to continue on with the character, and I like to see where he's going. But right now, I'm just the advisor to the king, basically, and I lay out all the strategies and stuff. And it's very dark, and it's very enjoyable. But when I was in Naruto, I was in the field, kicking ass, taking names, cutting off heads. So that was a little fun.
Right. What scene would you say?
There's more action. Although,
Right.
When you think about it, for me, when there's more action, they don't necessarily need me because the character's doing all this stuff. And,
Yeah, they're just doing the hand jutsu. Yeah.
Jutsu, and then they cut to me running and all this other stuff. Unless I have to say something while I'm doing all that fighting, it doesn't. I don't have to do it. So we skip to where I talk again.
What's it like to see the final product? Like when you're in the booth, like what's it like to see all that come together?
I don't watch too much of it, but I've seen some of it. Which the interesting thing about it is what I know of the show is what Shikamaru has experienced, which is interesting. Right? Because it's like I don't know that Rock Lee went off and did all this stuff, whatever, right? Because I wasn't there. I didn't record that day. So I only know what Shikamaru knows, right? I only know what Shikamaru experienced and that what we've seen that Shikamaru has experienced. So that's my context of the show is, people will talk about these characters that I go, I have no idea who that is because Shikamaru never met that person. Like I don't think I ever really interacted with Jiraiya. Right, so.
Oh yeah, no, you didn't.
I don't know Jiraiya. I don't know what his deal was, and if the only way I could know that is from watching the show.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily. I've seen some of it, but I haven't watched most of the show. But I kind of feel like I know what's going on because I lived it.
Right.
In a way.
So me and my friend have been going back and forth. I don't know if you'll know the answer. Hopefully you do, because I think this would be cool. Me and my friend have been going back and forth about who would win, Shikamaru or Neji. I said that Neji would mop the floor with Shikamaru, and he said Shikamaru would mop the floor. No disrespect to, I love Shikamaru, but I just feel like Neji would, go crazy. But he said Shikamaru would beat Neji. Who do you think would win?
Well, in a straight-up fight, pretty much anybody, Shikamaru can be beaten pretty, not necessarily easily, but he can be beaten pretty good. The trick about Shikamaru is his strategy and his, being a tactician. You got, in order to beat Shikamaru, you got to outsmart him, and that's why I don't think Neji could do that. So Neji's got the Byakugan going, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So he's powerful. But Shikamaru's always 2 chess moves ahead. You see what I'm saying? Right. So if you had to get matched up with him, then Shikamaru would either figure out a way to escape or hide or... I mean, if you think about the whole Hidan battle, Shikamaru was very outmatched with Hidan, but he outthought him. He figured out his strengths and he used them against him. Hidan. So that it ends up that Hidan gets his head cut off and buried in a pit forever because he's right. Now this guy's separated from his body. He can't do anything. I mean, it's horrible to think that this guy is still with his head under the ground. He can't do anything.
Right.
But Shikamaru was 2 steps ahead of him.
Right.
Shikamaru put the blood of one of Hidan's compadres in a blood vial. So when he thought he had done the blood curse on Shikamaru, he was really doing it to his friend. I don't know. Are you not caught up on that part of the show yet? I'm sorry.
I'm actually no. It's fine. Actually, that's really cool. I'm in the middle of that arc.
Major spoiler.
But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So, Hidan is part of the Akatsuki.
Akatsuki, right?
And they're really hard to beat. But Shikamaru got him separated. And Hidan has this scythe, right? And if he cuts you with it, he licks the blood, and then any damage you do to him is done to you, right? Because now he has your blood. So if you punched him in the face, you'd get the damage of being punched in the face. face.
Mm.
Right? So it's almost impossible to beat him because you're attacking him. Let's say you're stabbing him or you're hitting him with, kunai knives or whatever. They go into him, but you start bleeding.
Bleeding. Yeah. Whoa. Oh, yeah.
So what Shikamaru did was he whips that scythe, and Shikamaru had a blood vial of one of Hidan's companions, and he put that on the blade, and then it looked like Shikamaru was bleeding, but he wasn't. And so then the guy does his little thing, and he's like, now I got you. And then Shikamaru starts just hacking away at him. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, his friend is fighting another ninja, and he's just taking all this damage. Meanwhile, Shikamaru's acting like he's taking the damage, but he's not taking the damage at all.
Wow.
So
dang, yeah.
It's this. He outthinks. Meanwhile, so we took out two Akatsuki that way because basically Shikamaru outmaneuvered him, put the chess moves, played the pieces, and won the game by being smarter. And that's his strength. So that's where you go. If it's a straight, but even if you look at the, I'll take it back even more. If you go back to the beginning of the series, when he was in the Junin exams, right? And I have to fight Tamari. Do you remember that?
Yes, I saw that. Funny thing, I just finished. I went back and watched that. Watched some Shikamaru clips. And that's one of the clips I just finished. Yeah, I remember that. That was a good.
And then he surrenders.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember when I saw that. I was like, wait, what? But me and my friend too. Yeah.
And he's the only one that gets promoted to Jenny, or let's see, you go Genin to. Anyway, he's the only one that gets promoted, graduates from the class, because he was smart enough to know when he was beat and when to retreat. And it's like, that's what Shikamaru is. It's all up here. And it's all tactical, and it's all strategy. And I don't know if there's anybody on the show that can beat him when it comes to that. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess that answers my first question.
But again, if you're just talking, you throw them in a pit and they're fighting each other, and I'm using, Shadow Possession Jutsu, and Neji's using his Byakugan, probably Shikamaru's going to lose unless Shikamaru comes up with a good strategy. But, if it's like in a game, like in the game situation where you only can use the powers of the character and it's your dexterity as to whether you're going to beat him or not, Shikamaru's probably going to lose. See?
Okay.
You got to know how to use that Shadow Possession to your advantage.
I guess I didn't think of it like that, but yeah.
We did a Team 10. We did a bunch of stuff where I would use Shadow Possession, and then Ino would then possess their mind. So then I could release, and then now they're controlled by Ino, right? So there was like a lot of like tag team, use each other's skills to the best advantage, and that's what Shikamaru does.
Nice.
Tuning. Yes, it was the tuning exams. Right.
Tuning. Okay. Joe, there's so many. I'm still trying to get wrapped around the lore myself. So
yeah. Well, I did it, and I go, oh yeah, what was the name of that?
What is your favorite arc from Naruto?
Well, we talked about two of them that were pretty good. I guess the third would be the death of Asuma. That was a pretty good arc.
What's your favorite Shikamaru line?
What is it? I am your god now.
I remember. I saw an interview that I think it was with Vision Con. I think it was his name. And when you said that line, I got goosebumps. I was like, yo! I was like, hold on, that's tight. That's gotta be one of my.
God. I'm your god now. Yeah.
That's such a dope line. Awesome. Oh man, one of my favorite voice actors. Give it up, like one of my favorites, man. Like you just really bring that to that character. I know no one can bring what you bring to that character. Like that's a fact. I know no one can do it like you do it. So, and I think it's cool that you've been Shikamaru in everything we've seen, from video games to the TV. Like you've been Shikamaru in all of that. So that's just really cool. That's really cool that they haven't like swapped you out for someone. Because I know like voice actors like talk about that, where like I'll talk about Peter Cullen, for example. Peter Cullen has been having I don't know if you've heard about this, but Peter Cullen has been having issues recently. Not recently, but problems with voicing Optimus Prime because he wants to do it like really bad and he loves doing it, but the company is just keeps casting people who aren't doing that good of a job, and he's just like been talking about, I just hate hearing stories like that where people who actually love these characters and want to and give it their all like you do aren't given the opportunity to do it. So
right.
And it's just really good to hear that you've been able to do that.
There's a lot of things that are behind it that have nothing to do with the fans or the work itself. You know, there's union rules and there's money and there's, you know, we're none of us are making a ton of money, so that's why I think you see me in everything. You know, it's you know, and if you think about it, if they were going to do a movie of Naruto, like it was a big thing, they bring in Tom Cruise to play Shikamaru, and they bring you know, all of us would just be, you know, swept aside because they'd go with big money and big names to get it in the door. You know, it's just the way this business works. So
right. I don't want to see a Naruto movie. I'm sorry. I know you just. I don't. Well, I don't want to see that. I really don't.
We've done like 6 of them, and they were
like animated.
One of them was a theatrical release, the first one I think, and then the rest of them been straight to DVD. So I guess they're bigger in Japan and they do better there, but they do okay here. You know, we have a good strong fan base for the show, and it's funny how people are now continuing to find and discover the show, and we've been on for 15 years. So the kids that originally were watching it are all grown up, and that's weird to me because I'll run into some guy who's like 35 and go, "Oh yeah, I loved that show when I was a kid." It's like, what?
Right, yeah, because like I said, I literally I want to say a couple months ago I just started watching Naruto. I had this Kakashi shirt right here, but I didn't. Not to be a poser, but I didn't know who this was. I didn't know who this was, and because my mom brought me this shirt, she's like, "Oh, don't you watch Naruto?" I was like, "No, but thanks for the cool shirt." But yeah, I just got into it, and it's just been one of my favorite. That's got to be in my top favorite animes of all time. I really like it.
My wife and I were watching just randomly. We were watching the Kelly Clarkson show. It's a talk show in the afternoon. My wife loves it.
Oh,
And they were interviewing Neo, and Neo had I think he had a Nine-Tailed Fox shirt, or it was definitely Naruto. I don't know if it was Naruto or the Nine-Tailed Fox or Naruto, like they're both superimposed over each other. And so I took a screenshot and I sent it to Miley, and I said, "This is Neo on the Kelly Clarkson show today. It's so funny." And she's like, "He's a fan?" And so it's really you just never know who's a fan and what they're, and I don't know, maybe he just got the shirt because he thought it looked cool,
right?
So he might not be a Naruto fan at all, but it's just be like, I don't know who this is, but this is a cool ninja guy.
I don't like to do that, I don't like to do that because I like to wear shirts that I know about. I'm probably gonna get. I've been looking into a lot of Naruto shirts. Definitely get a Shikamaru shirt. I'm getting a Gaara shirt. I have to get a Gaara shirt. One of my favorites. What's it like? What is it like being with all these top talent? You have Steve Blum, we talked about. We have O'Brien, who's done Gaara.
Well, the funny thing about it is we don't really see each other that much. Because you go to record and you might, especially now, because every time I've gone to the booth, there's been nobody in there hours before I was in the booth. So that's because of the COVID.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it would be I have my sessions from 2 to 4, and Robbie Reist's session is from 12 to 2. So he's coming out and he's joking with the engineer and the director, and I'm in the lobby and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Robbie," and he's like, "Oh, hey," and we're talking about whatever music or whatever thing is in the news, and then it's like, "Okay, we're ready for you. Why don't you come on in?" I go, "Okay, see you later, man," and that's it.
Wow.
And you might be even you see somebody and you're like, who do you play on the show?
Oh wow.
And it's, oh yeah, I've been on since the beginning. I was like, oh, okay.
Wow, yeah. But that's one thing that kind of surprises me when I talk to voice actors, that they're talking about we don't really see each other. And I'm like,
Yeah,
don't you all like my picture of it was there's a director, all of you are in a room and just going at it. Like Naruto.
That's the way we did. That's the way we did Justice League Adventures, but that's not the way that was original animation. See, so I don't know. They do a lot more of that kind of stuff with original because it's like SpongeBob. They all just stand in the room and read the script, and they can play off each other and stuff. So
right.
And I used to record a show where they would do SpongeBob was in the next studio, and those guys were there doing that. So that was kind of fun too. And you come out and there's Tom Kenny in the hallway, and you're like, oh hey, how you doing? And everybody's very nice. Everybody just assumes you're there for a reason and you're professional and. Oh, you guys are doing that show? Oh, that's great. Everyone's real friendly. It's a good industry as far as the way we treat each other. But we're also not locked in a room for 8 hours a day with each other, making each other
right. Yeah. Right.
Now, Steve Bloom, I barely knew Steve, and then I went to New Zealand. And we spent a week together, and we were doing the con, signing stuff and having dinner and hanging out. And it's like, oh, well, that's cool. Now, like we became more friends because of the con than from working on the show that we had both done for 15 years and doing all these panels and stuff. And so, yeah. And then like Mary Elizabeth, she's with Steve Bloom now. They're like have a relationship. And she's the director of the show. So I would run into Mary every time I went in to do an episode. Mary was directing, and then she left to go do Star Wars Rebels. But for many years, she was the main director of the show. And then Steve is on Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah. I was about to say, yeah.
It's like, so it's a little weird. Everybody kind of knows everybody, but then they kind of don't know each other. And Miley and I go back, we were in an improv group together back in Minnesota, back in 92 or something like that, early 90s. And we were doing a lot of comedy. Literally, I'll go to parties where she's there as a friend of, like we travel in the same circles. Like we have the same group of friends from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And so it's real, and that's strange too. Like somebody I worked with a long time ago, now we're both on this show together, and it's like, well, that's kind of weird when you like, what are the odds that both of us got into this thing, So, so yeah, so Miley and I, we're still friendly, and I text her all the time and stuff, and like I said, when I saw that Neo shirt, I was like, you gotta see it. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I remember I saw that on her Instagram. Yeah, she posted. Yeah. I took the photo and sent it to Miley, and then she posted it. Yeah.
Nice. I know that you did like a stream with her on Instagram once. You talk about you did a IG live with her once too. So yeah.
Sorry, say that one more time.
I said I saw that you were talking about how you did a Instagram live with her too.
Oh yeah.
I want to.
She was doing a signing, and then I jumped in. It was kind of like this, and I had done mine already. That was done, but she was doing a live event, and so I just logged on, and then I was giving her a hard time. So then she made me part of the thing, and that was actually really fun. And then I was answering questions while she was signing, so it kind of gave her, because when you're doing a signing, it's like
you're not paying attention. Yeah.
I'm signing. And then, so I was like, while Miley is signing that, why don't I read some of the questions in the feed? And so it actually worked pretty good. I thought it turned out to be kind of a fun show, So imagine like we're having this conversation, but then I have to be signing a bunch of stuff. My favorite episode was. I'm sorry, what was that?
Right, yeah. Oh, this is for Jocelyn from Connecticut. Like, yeah, like doing all. I have a couple more questions for you. What is one franchise you would like a shot at?
Sorry, what? One more time?
I hate these headphones. What is one franchise you would like a shot at?
Oh, a franchise?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Marvel Universe is pretty fun. I mean, I'd love to be a live actor in one of those somewhere, just to make me third, pirate from the left in a Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
one of the Raiders or something,
I promise you, like almost everyone I've asked who said they want to be in Marvel immediately goes to Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know it was.
Yeah.
You know what I think was great about it? I mean, because the Marvel Universe had been going along, and it was pretty good. Like when you think about Iron Man, the thing that worked with Iron Man was they treated it like it was real. I mean, it's a full-on action movie. It's just a guy in a suit, right? He's got some technology, but it's a full-on like regular action movie. You think about the Captain America movies, that could be the Bourne Identity movies, right? It could be Mission Impossibles. They just treated it like that. They took it as serious as that. And then Guardians came along, and I think the thing that worked with Guardians is nobody had any expectations for any of those characters.
No, yeah.
And I think early on, some of the problems with like Spider-Man and Batman is that there's huge expectation of what Spider-Man should be or what Batman should be. These are their big marquee characters. And even like you think the first Hulk, and it was like that's an okay movie. People kind of bag on it, but it was like
they hate it
because there's so
yeah.
much expectation. The fans have such you can't mess with the Hulk. The Hulk's got to be this, But Guardians of the Galaxy, nobody knew the Guardians. The super nerd people knew the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm kind of in the next tier where I had heard of it, but I hadn't read the comic, but I kind of knew what it was. I knew some of the bullet points. And then they took that and they made it a full-on buddy picture action comedy. And it was like, and with the music made that movie. And
yes.
Then they had the justification for having that music because his mother gave him the tape.
The tape, yeah.
And it all works. It all works, right? So, yeah, it's...
Okay, welcome back. Oh,
okay.
I'm gonna have to
stop over our time limit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Instagram does that. Yeah, I don't know why. Everything. I don't understand why Instagram like puts limitations on everything depending on your follower count. Like if you don't have 10K followers, you can't put like a swipe up link in your bio to like swipe for people to like go to your website. Or if you have a video you want to watch, you can't swipe up. Or if you're not like if you don't have like 3 million followers, they like limit your time to go. Yeah,
I don't understand any of
it. Yeah. Oh man, that was really good. What are your thoughts on social media, by the way? Because I think is this your only like social media account?
I have a Facebook, but I don't. For fans, this is the place to be. The real Tom Gibis. And please join. I'm just trying to get that as big as possible. But yeah, I hate it. I love social media and I hate social media. And part of it as far as like acting goes, you'll see so many people now that was like, you see somebody on television and it's like, who's that? And then my wife will say, oh, they're a big YouTube star. It's like, well, then be on YouTube. Don't be taking away acting roles from people that have, spent their whole life studying and working on it, just because you did some goofy, jumped off a bike and,
or did like a stupid, like a dancer. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, so yeah, and I don't get like the guys that like become viral and it's like, why? I don't know. But you'll hear like, well, they have 5 million viewers or whatever. And it's like, okay. So
I guess
pay attention to them. I don't know. But I also feel like the bigger problem I think with like Facebook and Twitter and all of that stuff is it amplifies voices that don't necessarily need to be amplified.
100%.
So you'll, and I get, people like everybody's got an opinion and they feel like they got to chime in, and that's all fine. But let's not take that as it means anything, right? So you hear a lot of on the news they'll say, people are outraged. It's like, people aren't outraged. There are some people outraged. Let's really focus on the people that really are outraged. But if you saw it on Twitter or you saw it on Facebook, they're not outraged. They're freaking lazy. They just wrote it down. And they're, they're and sometimes it allows them to be racist, and it allows them to be, sexist and homophobic and everything else. All the nasty things that we are as humans comes out. And it's like, you know what? If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything, first of all. And if you're really, in the old days, if you didn't like something, you'd have to, write your congressman, and you'd have to get out a piece of paper, and you'd have to write it, and then you'd have to put it in an envelope and put a stamp on it and take it to the mailbox and put it in the mail. And then, it's like, right now, you'd write that letter and you'd go, I'm not gonna send it. But on Facebook or Twitter, we go
and send it. Yes, yeah.
And it's we should, maybe this would be the solution: is that everything you write on Facebook gets locked up for 24 hours. It can't get released to the world for 24 hours, and then you go, wait, I've called.
Right. Yeah. Let me. Yeah. Let me. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Look at it again. Do a double. Yeah, that was good about writing letters as you could, or sending something out. It was like you have time to look at it and just like, I haven't written a letter in God knows how long. But when I used to write letters, but write letters, get to think and be in the moment and experience it. So.
Right, and so anyway, I just kind of feel like, plus people give it too much weight.
Yes.
To me, it should be like if somebody goes, well, they're saying on the internet that you did this, and I'd say, who? Who's saying that? And why are they important? Right?
Right.
I don't care. It doesn't mean anything. It counts as a zero, and we should treat it that way. Right? And, it's like, I get it. Everybody should have an opinion, but in a way, Facebook should be, that's the opinions you have with your friends. It should go no further than that. Or like Twitter, this is what you have, the opinion you have with your friends. Who cares what, John Legend thinks about anything? I want to hear what he thinks about music and stuff. And I'm not saying politics or whatever, but I'm just saying, let's not put a bunch of weight on it. Like, that's just his opinion, and you go, that's great. I either agree or don't agree. And I'm not saying anything against John Legend. I love that. So I wasn't saying that there'd be anything negative there.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely understand, yeah.
I'm just saying they put it up there that, like, all these celebrities now think this. And I'm like, really?
Right.
It wasn't all these celebrities. There's a couple. Who cares? Right? Forget Twitter. Forget, if you really, it would be like, led a march on Washington. Now I'm listening. Like, they got all their friends together and they organized this thing, and now they're going to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, that's something. But to write it on Twitter or to put it on Facebook it's not taking any action at all.
Absolutely.
And ripping on people, same thing. You're not a hero. You're not a, you don't get to pat yourself on the back like you're a social justice warrior or something.
Right.
You wrote something on Facebook or I'm against it. It's like, no, go out there and do it. You got to go out and, donate money to causes and protest.
Right.
And get out there and fight for what you believe in. So
a lot of these people are all taught.
But it's like the lazy man's way of being involved in the world. So.
Right. Most definitely.
I hope that makes sense. So I just
Oh no, yeah, it does.
On Twitter's gonna go after me like that. Tom Gibis is such an.
Yeah.
He was calling me lazy. He thinks people are. It's like,
yeah.
I just think we put too much credit on it, and we should just, I'm
100% where you're at. One, I guess this would be my last question for you is, what would be your current message to the world? I always end off my interviews with this question. I feel like it's very important because of everything that's going on. I feel like people just need a little message to hear or something to get them through their day. But what would be a current message to the world during these current times that we live in?
We're all in it together.
Right.
We're all in it together, whether we want to be or not. But we're all in it together. Whether you're talking about, we all are responsible for the environment, not just the environmentalists. You know, like we're all responsible for social and racial justice, all of us. So we're all in it together. It affects us. And what do we, the people that are resisting a lot of that stuff, it's like, why? Why are you resisting? You know, women should get equal pay. You know, it's like, people,
Right.
Nobody should be getting shot by the police. No one. It's not their job. They shouldn't do it. And I know it's a tough job, but we need people that need to make good choices. And if they make bad choices, they need to be held responsible like we are. Right? So yes, Black Lives Matter. You know, people matter, and we should all care about each other. And if some of us are having an issue, we should listen to that and try and fix it. And instead of going, oh, there's no problem, or, you know, whatever, or blowing it all off. It's
Right.
We're all in it together. We are all Americans. We need, if you think of that's the one thing we have in common, you know, we all live on this planet. You can go that far. We all have a responsibility to help each other and take care of each other. So it's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not black, it's not white, it's not red, it's not green. We're all human beings, and we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves and our planet and each other. And, you know, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard.
It really isn't, though. Like, you just saying it, it's not hard to put your head around, or like, it's not. It really isn't.
Just, you know, if it's not yours, don't take it. You know, if you feel mad, don't hit somebody. You know, it's like, keep your hands to yourself, be respectful.
Right.
You know,
we all learned, right.
Other.
We also have learned this as kids, like our parents putting this into us, like it just really goes to show like how people are raised. You know what I mean? Like the environment they're born in. And
I don't know. You know, I feel like I had a pretty good, the way I was raised, and I went to a pretty good school, and I thought we were kind of raised. I grew up in the late, you know, well, started kindergarten in 1969. So in the 70s is when I was in, you know, elementary school and stuff. And, you know, we were all taught to treat everybody the same, and everybody is the same. And, you know, it came out of the whole hippie movement of the 60s. And, you know, I'm sure that's what all our teachers were. And I thought, it's a good message. There's nobody's better than you, and you're not better than anybody else. And, you know, but then I grow up and I see some of these guys I grew up with, and I'm like, we grew up the same way. Where did this come from?
Right.
Where did all, you know, maybe you're right? Like it came from the home, you know, and I didn't think, I don't know. I just would like each generation to be a little less sexist than the last generation. The next generation be a little less racist than the
right.
generation before. And you feel like, I felt like my whole life we've been going in that direction, you know, and now it's like we want to take big, huge steps backwards, and I don't understand why.
Right.
It's like, if it doesn't affect you, who cares if two guys next door are married? It doesn't affect you.
Right.
Who cares if one's black and one's white and they're married? I don't care. You know, like, live your life. It doesn't. Why does it matter to you? You know. So anyway, I'm puzzled by that. Why people aren't. I don't know. Maybe that's liberal. It's a liberal hippie.
Hippie, right? Yeah.
Well, if that's what it is, I'm down.
Right. Right, exactly. Most definitely. Yeah, if that's what you want to call me, then go ahead. But,
but you know, peace, love, and understanding. You know, okay, sure, great.
Right.
Let's all get along. Let's, you know, treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that hard, right? It's not that. It shouldn't be.
It really, yeah. I don't. You hit it right on the head. You really did. It's crazy. It's getting. You really did. I mean, it's just it baffles me. I've never experienced a year like this, or what's the conversations we have. I've just never. I mean, you were born.
I think.
Right.
I think there's more people. You know what? You know, because you talk to kids, and kids today, it seems like, I'm sure there's a bunch of you know better than I do.
Yeah,
jerks out there, but
most
kids today, like they're like, oh yeah, that person's gender fluid, whatever. I'm like, oh, because that wouldn't have flown when I was in high school. You know what I mean? People have been like, what's going on with that guy? You know, and so great, right? It's like, yes, you're one step closer, you're one better. you know, kids today don't seem to, it doesn't care if people are gay or straight or whatever. They get it. They get it. They understand it. They're like, that's what this person is. I'm this. And I think that's a great thing. And I'm sure there's kids out there that are, you know, pushing back against a lot of that or rolling their eyes or whatever. But
yeah. High school I go to is
bunch of jerks.
It's not a bunch of jerks. It's like it feels closed-minded. You know what I mean? Like it feels kind of closed. I mean,
yeah.
It's. I don't want to say because I love.
The beauty, maybe this is the beauty of like the internet and having a wider world, is you can always find your fellow traveler. You know, the people that are like-minded, people that love anime, right?
Yeah.
You can all come together and talk about anime. So maybe that's a good thing. So you're not, you don't feel isolated. You're in a town full of. The unfortunate thing is, you know, the Proud Boys are finding other Proud Boys. You know, the Nazis are finding other Nazis. You know, it's like, we used to just have the one crank that lived down the street, and he'd say, "You don't need to pay your taxes. You know, it's unconstitutional." And you'd be like, "Yeah, okay."
Right.
Go over there. And
then, you do you, right? You do you.
Now the 10 village idiots are on a blog together.
Yeah.
and it seems like there's 100 of them or 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just that one idiot that always was in your town, that was always say crazy things, and everybody would go, "Yeah, that's Dave." You know,
that's Dave down the street. Yeah. Well, Tom, I guess that's all I have for you today.
Use it for a power of good.
Right, yes. There's so much we could do with the internet. I mean, like, we could literally look up anything in 5 seconds. Like, we've come so far technologically, and we're only going to get more advanced. So why not use this platform for something positive, you know? And,
you know, look at television. I mean, when television first came out, they were like, this is going to be such a beautiful tool for educating people, you know? And it's like, and then TV just became, you know, crazy game shows and, you know, reality shows.
Keeping up with the Kardashians and Fear of Fact.
So, but in the beginning, we had big ideas, you know. PBS was gonna be the highest rated network because they had real programming. And it's like, no.
Right.
You can lead a horse to water, but they're gonna
can't make it drink. Yeah.
They're watch something else.
Tom, thank you so much for coming by. Honestly,
no problem.
This is I was freaking out before I came on. I was pacing my room. Like, my room is small, but I was like walking from the door to here. I was freaking out. I freaked out when you said yes. I freaked out when you joined. Like, I was freaking out the whole time. I hope you enjoyed being on here as much as I did enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see where your careers go. I hope to. Next time I hear from you, you're in the next Marvel movie or voicing Iron Man or something, you know, in a cartoon.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Speaking into existence, and it shall come. Thank you so much, Tom. This really means a lot. I hope you guys, the fans, enjoyed it, and I will stay in touch. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
All right, guys. You too. Have a great one. Thank you so much, and see you around.